Hello. Hello, hello, hello. What a great day in the Bronx, isn't it? Let me acknowledge some special friends because it's my pleasure to be here at Casita Maria today. Let's give a big round of applause for our Bronx Borough President, Ruben Diaz. We have Senator Luis Sepulveda, Assemblymember Marcos Crespo, Assemblymember Carmen Arroyo, Assemblymember Natalia Fernandez, Assemblyman Mike Benedetto. We have the DOT Commissioner and the Chief Engineer who did a fantastic job, Marie-Therese Dominguez and Wahid Albert. We have my State Director of Operations who really brought the ball all the way down the field, Kelly Cummings. We have Mike Music, who's the president of Baldor Foods. And we have a special guest, a hero of mine who's never forgotten where he's come from. Our great New York Yankee, Willie Randolph, is here. You know, today really is an historic day. We've been waiting for today for over 50 years, believe it or not. That's how long this has gone on. I'm not a Bronx boy, I'm a Queens boy. Queens and Bronx are very similar in that they were both outer boroughs, right? Now, they never said what was an inner borough, but growing up in Queens, the Bronx, Brooklyn, you were from the outer boroughs. The inner borough was Manhattan, and in many ways, for many years, the outer boroughs, you were treated like second-class citizens. I'll tell you the truth. And when they were building roads, when Robert Moses was building roads in the 50s and the 60s, all they thought about, the Bronx, Queens, the outer boroughs, they were going to run roads through them so you could get to Manhattan. Everything was about how do you get to Manhattan. And in the Bronx, Cross Bronx Expressway they built, literally cut the Bronx in two, the Bruckner Expressway, Sheridan Expressway, just building roads. Sheridan Expressway, they built the road between the community and the water. Why? Because it was easy to run the highway next to the water. Yeah, but what you did is you cut the community off from the waterfront. And then when you built all these highways, what you did was you brought a lot of truck traffic. And the truck traffic came into these communities. The common denominator for many of these communities, they were poorer communities, poorer places. They had less power, less political power, less of a powerful voice. So that's where they put the roads, that's where they put the traffic. Over 50 years ago, there was a doctor, Dr. Kupperman, from Albert Einstein, who said the South Bronx has increased asthma, bronchitis, and emphysema rates, the highest in the nation in the South Bronx. Why? Because you had 80,000 trucks coming into Hunts Point, and all that truck traffic, all those diesel fumes were literally poisoning children. This was 50 years ago. 50 years ago. And everyone talked about it, but nobody did anything about it. Why? Well, to go back and fix the problem was now very hard, very expensive, and again, poorer places, poorer people, poorer communities, less power. So it went on for 50 years. All the politicians came, and they all talked about it, one after the other, complained, press conferences, but nobody did anything. My grandfather, I spent a lot of time growing up with my grandfather, my father's father. He was an Italian immigrant. He was named Andrea. I was named for him, Andrew. And I didn't understand everything my grandfather said because he spoke broken English because he was an Italian immigrant. But as a kid, I remember sitting with him, and whenever a politician would come on TV, he would go like this. And I didn't know what it meant, but I was afraid to ask him because Italians had a lot of hand gestures. You really didn't want to know what all the hand gestures were. But it didn't matter, president, governors, mayors, whoever, all he would do is this. So one day I said to him, Grandpa, what is this? What is this? What is that, a duck? What is that? He said, no, what that is these politicians, all they do is talk, and they don't do anything. They just talk. And there were a whole mindset of politicians who think it's enough just to talk, do a press release, complain about it. But then there's a new breed of elected official who says it's not enough to talk about it. We've heard all the talk. We've been talking about asthma for 50 years. We've been talking about the South Bronx not getting its fair share for 50 years. The Mid-Bronx desperados, Banana Kelly, we've done press conferences for 50 years. Now we want someone to do something. We want a government that actually performs, that isn't about talk, but about results and about action. And that's what your representatives from the Bronx are all about. What Ruben Diaz and Luis Sepulveda and Natalia Fernandez and Carmen Arroyo are all about, what Marcos Crespo is all about, is getting things done, making a difference in people's lives. Don't talk to me about progressive government. Show me what progressive government means to me. What will government do for me? What change will you make for me? And the people who need the help are the people who've been suffering for years. So what was the answer? Change the Sheridan Expressway. Change it. Make it so people can get past the Sheridan Expressway, so they can get to the water, so they can get to the Bronx River, so they can get to Starlight Park. Yes, go back and do that. What is the answer? The answer is we made a mistake when we designed these roads in the first place, and we have to go back and redo it. And you can't have these trucks going through local communities, spewing all the diesel. It makes no sense whatsoever. You can't operate Hunts Point Market that way. You have all these trucks coming in. It's a great economic vehicle, largest food produce distributor in the Northeast. And you can't even get there directly. You have to drive through all these local streets. Go redesign the highways, redesign the roads, so the trucks go from the highway right into Edgewater, right into the Hunts Point Market. That was always the answer. What was the problem? $1.8 billion to rebuild those roads, to open up that Sheridan Expressway. $1.8 billion. Marcos Crespo is exactly right. Largest single investment ever in an outer borough to go back and fix those mistakes. But what we said is, it's worth it. It should have been done 50 years ago, and we're going to do it today. It's fair, it's right, and we're going to make it happen. And 50 years later, we're doing it. The Sheridan Expressway is opened up. Beautiful green space, back to the Bronx River. We're going to spend money and restore the Bronx River back to what it should be and clean the Bronx River. That's going to be the next step. But open up the bike path, open up the green spaces, and this month we're going to start the construction of a new highway system that is better for Hunts Point. The trucks will get there faster with less traffic, and you get those trucks off the road, and you get that fuel and the emissions off the road so children aren't poisoned. And it's $1.8 billion, but we're proud to make that investment. And it is a whole new era of getting things done for the people and places who need help. It's not just this that we're doing in the Bronx. We're spending $1.3 billion to build 4 new Metro North stations so people can commute into their jobs. We invested $100 million to make Roberto Clemente Park as beautiful as it should be. We're investing in getting young people jobs so they don't get into trouble and they have hope and they have a future to look forward to. And you see the results. You see the dividends from the investments. When we started, unemployment in the Bronx was 12%. It's now cut in half to 6% unemployment rate. Home values are up about 25%. And you know what the fastest growing borough in New York is? It's the Bronx, and the best is yet to be. Thank you. God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Michael Music, President of Baldor Specialty Foods.
Wow. Can we give the governor another round, please? Following the great JFK, he's not doing it because it's easy. He's doing it because it's hard, and he's doing it. Thank you, sir. Unlike the governor, I am from the Bronx, Eastchester Projects, Burke Avenue. One of 6 kids trying to make it. I now run a produce company in Hunts Point, and I need a highway. 80% of the people that grow product in this country grow it west of the Mississippi. 80% of the people that eat it live east of the Mississippi. That's coming by truck. It's crossing the George Washington Bridge. It's coming to Hunts Point, and it's affecting this community. I've supported this project with the governor for a long time. I say at Baldor, if it's good for the farmer, and it's good for our customer, and it's good for our employees, it's a win-win-win. Today, it's good for the community's health, it's good for the community for jobs, and it's good for business. Thank you, sir. It's a win-win-win. So, in the Bronx, we employ today 2,300 employees. It started with a van in 1991. 80% of them are from the 5 boroughs, and 80% of them are from the Bronx. 100% medical, dental, vision, life insurance, no deduction for the employee, the spouse, or the children. We are changing people's lives. In the great Jimmy V, a basketball college coach from North Carolina State, said, God must have liked ordinary people because he made an awful lot of us. But it's when ordinary people do extraordinary things like you're doing, sir. And so is all of our political officials. Turning the Bronx around. I grew up here. It was an outer borough. It was Howard Cosell on Monday Night Football with a shot from the blimp. The Bronx is burning. Ruben says it all the time. The borough president says it all the time. Those days are over. We're developing it. We're growing it. You have an opportunity at Baldor to do one or two things to our brand every day. Polish it or tarnish it. Today we continue to polish New York State and the Bronx band. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it. And I got a new hip 10 days ago. That's why
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr.
Hay cariño, no hay cariño. Is the Bronx in the house? Is the Bronx in the house? It's starting to look a lot like Christmas. And we have Santa Cuomo with us here today. Before I go into my remarks, let me just say that for those of you who have never been here before, we at the famous Casita Maria. And Haiti is with us here. Haiti, thank you let's give Haiti a round of applause, Morales. The principal, Dawn Verheel. Stand up so they know who the leadership is here. I also want to note that Marie-Therese Dominguez from the Department of Transportation of the state of New York is with us here. The New York Secretary of State, who's also from the Boogie Down Bronx, Rosana Rosado is with us here today. Richard Ball, Commissioner of the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets. We have Dr. Guillermo Linares, President of the New York State Higher Education Services Corporation. Angela Fernandez, Commissioner of the New York State Division of Human Rights. I don't know if she's here, but I want to mention Marlene Cintrón of the Bronx Overall Economic Development Corporation. And you know what's the good thing about this, and not only the 4 Metro North stations and Orchard Beach and all the things that the governor has helped us with the funding, is that it's all going to be done with organized union labor. Labor, are you in the house? Labor is in the house. So I want to just thank the elected leaders who are here today, but I also want to make note that this wouldn't have happened if it were not for the community. If it were not for the community advocates and activists, those of you who have worked hand in hand with us, those of you who at times has given us cocotazos, who have really nudged and really told us, and many organizations, the Bronx River Alliance, The Point, Youth Ministries for Peace and Justice, Mothers on the Move, Nos Quedamos, Sustainable South Bronx. Give yourself a strong round of applause if you're here today. Let's give them a strong round of applause. I think it's all been said and done, but I'm a boy from the Bronx, and I was born in 525 Jackson Avenue, Morehouses. My family came over here to the Soundview section of the Bronx. We lived over by what's now called Sonia Sotomayor houses, and it was then Bronxdale houses. And I remember when Bronxdale, Mr. Governor, used to have turmoil with Bronx River. And when I was a kid, many of you remember this, we didn't have real parks to play in. We had rubble. When I was a kid, as I said in the video, we didn't have access to green spaces and waterfronts. And so those of us who came from St. Lawrence and from Bronxdale, we wanted to come and had to take the bridge down to on 174th Street to go in what was, they had a rope with an old tie, don't tell my parents this, where we used to swing off that Tarzan swing. And we used to have shorts, but you couldn't take off your sneakers because of the way that water was. And it was fun for us, but fast forward, as I became the youngest member of the New York State Legislature 23 years ago, it was fighting side by so many of you. So many of you like The Point. So many of you, like those of you who serve on the community board, where environmental justice became the term of the day. And even now, fast forward 20 some odd years later, almost 30 years later, everyone speaks about global warming. But think about us, Anna. Think about how we had the audacity to want one simple thing, and that's just to revitalize the Bronx River. The Bronx River at the time had cars that people dumped in it. And when I was up in Albany, we worked with the then governor, working with the state, and working with the National Guard, and we pulled out cars. We had a press conference with a stack of cars that were dumped into the Bronx River. And the cars were mapped out by the young men and women in our community that were in Youth Ministries for Peace and Justice. They mapped out where the cars were so that the authorities knew where to go and pick them up. And then now, fast forward, we have actual fish in the water. We have a revitalized funding for Starlight Park. But ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, what would it all be if we don't have access to it? What would it all be if we don't have the funding that, for, like the governor said, for 30, 40, 50 years, certainly in my entire political career, that everyone talked about we were going to do something to have access to the Bronx River, to make sure that we get trucks off the road. And so we all had the leadership and we all had the drive. But if it were not for the governor, if it were not for the 1.8 billion, not million, 1.8 billion, you better clap it up for the governor. Come on, let's clap it up for the governor. So that now, those individuals who are now living where we're creating a lot of housing, and I see the signatures here on West Farms and the surrounding community, now they have access to a beautiful park. We have a boathouse. We're going to have a boat landing. We have bridges, pedestrian paths. We're going to make sure that we do this in a way where the community benefits, where we continue to clean up the environment, where we continue to show some love and nurture that beautiful Bronx River, and so that we do not harm the economic engines of our borough, which are the produce market, the meat market, and the fish market, among others, in the Hunts Point. Those are areas and those are the industries that create jobs in our boroughs. That is critically important to this whole process. As a Bronx boy, as a young assembly member at the time, as an elected official, this is why I got into this. This is why I got into government. This is why my job is the best job on the planet. This is why I love the fact that when you have elected officials like let's give it up for Marcos Crespo again, who's done a yeoman's job. When you have State Senator Luis Sepulveda, come on, give it up for Sepulveda. La Campeona Carmen Arroyo, Natalia Fernandez, and so many others. This is a clear moment in our borough, and there are so many other municipalities that are looking at what we're doing here. If we can do it here, ladies and gentlemen, it could be done anywhere. To the governor, this is not your first go-around with us. You put in, like you said, $100 million to Roberto Clemente State Park. We did that announcement. You put in $1.3 billion or $1.4 billion for 4 Metro North stations. That's transformative. You gave us millions of dollars for Orchard Beach as well. Y'all not hearing me. This is the governor, guys. If you clap a little louder, I can ask him for more. To all of the city agencies as well, the city DOT, thank you for working in collaboration with the state DOT. Damas y caballeros, esto es un día sumamente orgulloso para mí. Sabemos que la historia del condado del Bronx y la reputación, lamentablemente, ha sido una donde no nos han tratado bien. Y no es por falta de visión, no es por falta de liderazgo, sino fue falta de que sean alcaldes o gobernadores nunca le han dado la prioridad a nuestro condado como se le han dado a otro condado. Hoy en día, gracias a Dios, que tenemos un gobernador que sí, cada vez que lo llamamos, sí, como lo ha sido a nivel del estado de Nueva York, tiene al condado del Bronx, el condado de la salsa, en su corazón, y por eso le damos las gracias al gobernador Cuomo. To the community, to young world, to the community, young world. Lo que dice Carmen Arroyo. To all of the young folks, enjoy it. This is an opportunity to be in tune with Mother Nature. This is an opportunity to enjoy a river the way that I thought I was, but it's much cleaner, and like the governor said, we're going to do even much more. To all of the families that are now making the Bronx their home, this is a way where you can create memories. This is a place where you can create moments. And to all of the men and women in labor, thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for building the Bronx, the city, and the state. God bless you all, and happy holidays.